Grab a jar here. So those of you that joined me late, I did tell this at the beginning that I do not use odorless thinner. I'm allergic to it. So my thinner is Eco House new extra mild citrus thinner. That is what I use, and it's worked wonderfully for me. I've had no allergies to it, and it's working fine with all my Genesis and everything that I've tried it with. So I've been real happy with it. I have not tried it with, I've tried it with the Exodus products that I've tested. And I was allowed to test a few of their products when they first came out. So this is my first time with Irresistibles and the BC Paints products, and I did purchase those. Alrighty. Let me clean my brushes. Make sure I've got everything off. Alright, there we go. We can start over. Alright, that one's clean. So I don't have any other products from the other two companies other than that primer. But I do have thick and thinning medium and whatnot from Exodus. And I may demonstrate those separately in another video because I want to try to keep continuity here with several things at once. So what I'm going to do at this point is set these matte varnishes aside, and we're going to work with just the two paints on this one. So I've got a palette here. This palette actually came in my little kit that I got from Esther that I purchased. And I have several colors of paint from her. And then I have the BC Paints here from Dolls by Sandy's where I got those. So I've not tried either one of these. We're just going to jump in here and wing it. I did not get any instructions. Neither one of them came with actual instructions. I know they have websites or Facebook pages you can look at, but none of them came with any instructions. So we're just going to jump in here and try it. So I'm going to start with the BC Paints. Let's see. Why don't we start with red, because that's a color everybody uses for blushing and whatnot. So I'm going to open the BC red color. So it's very creamy looking. There you go. There it is. Now I'm going to start with just a little bit, which is what I would normally do with Genesis. In fact, I wouldn't even start with that much with Genesis. This is kind of sticky, so it's a little stringy. I'm going to take my plastic palette here and put some thinner in it. This is the citrus thinner I showed you that I was using. I'm going to put some of that right there and just about fill that well up. I'm going to put this little bit of red paint from the BC Paint in there. Let me move that over so that hopefully y'all can see this. All right. If I tilt it, I'm going to make a mess, so I'm not going to do that. So as I stir this, it's got little granules in it that need to be dissolved. So see, like right there on the side where you've got that one showing up. Let me see if I can get this camera in a little closer. Y'all see that? The writing on the screen is there. Okay. So it's not just melting readily real fast, but it's going to take some stirring. going to take this wedge and paint some on it. That's how it looks. There's your color. All right, let's pounce some on this baby. And this, I'll just start at one end and keep going so don't. So I'm getting a little bit of color. If you're one of these people that likes super translucent layers, that's what this looks like right now. I don't know if it's showing up on that camera. I may have too much light. Let me go turn the light down a little bit. Let's see, is that better? Can y'all see that? It just looks wet there, doesn't it? Yeah, my camera's not picking it up. Okay, y'all are going to have to take my word for it, I guess. I will do pictures at the end. Darn, I was hoping that would show up better. Maybe if I do it real blotchy. Can you see that? All right. Don't know what to do. Let me try turning off the background light. Maybe that's killing it. Y'all bear with me. I'm sorry. I'm very new at this. Sometimes less light is better. Can you see that? I can see a little bit of it now. Just know that in person, it's showing up even more. But I'm going to go ahead and do it really heavy so y'all can see the color. Or as heavy as I can. So it's very translucent. Not bad. So in application, that goes on pretty well. All right, so there's that. Let's do another color, I guess. We'll do the blue. Let me rinse my brush off. So this is BC paint that we're testing right now. Now blue is usually a strong color, so we're going to see how strong this is. Now, as I mentioned a while ago, you got to mix it. And I can already see with the red one, I don't know if you can see this, but the pigment is already sinking to the bottom. I'll turn this wedge over. Put the blue on that side. All right. So now I'm going to go right above where I put that red and do some blue. I didn't get that blended good, I guess. So it's a little hard to get it to dissolve because I'm winding up seeing little specks of it when I painted on my wedge. There's little specks of it in here. See how it's not going out evenly? It's just kind of speckledy looking. So that's kind of annoying. Let me hold this up. I wanted y'all to see this up closer if I can get it If I tilt it, I'm afraid I'll spill it. But see, you can see that the colors settle really fast, or the pigments. I'll blot down that pigment that I put on there that was... I had thought when I first saw these and heard people talking about them, I was like, maybe these are like an air dry paint that's had a heat set medium mixed in. But now that I'm handling them, I'm going to say no, that's not what it is. They're more, it's almost like they're more grainy, like a pure pigment, powder pigment. Okay, this is interesting because blue is a hard color usually to control, and this I'm having to really work to get it on there. All right, that's how much I've got on my wedge now. Very translucent, very interesting. I mean, there's blue color there. You may not can see it on my camera as well, but it is blue. Alrighty, let's see. Let's try brown. This is burnt umber. Let's see what that one looks like. Rinse my brush out again. VC paints. Alrighty. I'm not going to put as much thinner in there this time. These remind me, they almost seem grainy, like when you melt them down or thin them down with the thinner. It seems like what you've got is grainy. Sorry, I'm trying to get the camera on down here where y'all can see. Oops, I just spilled it. Back it up. There. Alrighty, now I'm going on the side of my wedge and painting some of that burnt umber color that I accidentally mixed some red into it. This over here didn't get red in it. Alright. Well, that shows up the best of any of them so far. There's your burnt umber. It's more of a mustardy color. Alrighty. So that's BC, and the only other one I haven't done is the yellow, so I guess we'll do that. Oh, don't tilt them sideways, they string. Just got paint all over my finger. Alrighty. So this is going to be the yellow. See how that, I've still got to mix it. It's you have to kind of pull it up against the side of the palette and smoosh it out and work it back down into the liquid. And I don't know if you can hear it. You hear that? It's gritty. It is definitely a gritty paint. Which means it is a pure pigment for sure. All right, let me try this. I don't know if I got that melted enough or not, or thinned enough, or however you say it. But anyway, there's my yellow. Get my, trying to get this where I, okay. There's my yellow stripe. I'm not going to worry so much about trying to get it totally even right now or smoothed out. So the only one that I didn't get a lot of color out with was the blue. I'm going to try dipping this in the thing and going back over the blue. Well, see, now when I did that and it's not mixed, you get that grainy look. So whatever this paint system is, it is it is very pigmented, is very reminds me of a powder pigment, almost like pan pastels type. And I'm not saying it is pan pastels. I think my yellow ran down there, but anyway, I've ran those together. But oh well. So there we go. It's a mess. I'll heat set that anyway, and we'll see. That's your BC end. So what we're looking at here is basically, still trying to adjust this camera. We're looking at the BC paint colors, and yeah, somehow I ran it down there on the other end. My yellow ran together with my blue, making green. So, you know, if you want to make sure your own colors, there you go. This was the brown, the burnt umber. So it's a little difficult, in my opinion, to get this on in a smooth application. Now, I'm doing this very quickly on the fly. I'm not working with it a lot. I'm going to try something just out of curiosity. So a lot of times with Genesis, what I would do is I would add Genesis thinning medium to a paint to give it more of a creamy consistency. So, I'm going to open the thinning medium from Exodus, just out of curiosity, and I'm going to add it to one of these colors to see if it makes it less grainy. I'm going to get a toothpick here. And the only reason I'm doing this is I don't have any new formula Genesis thinning or old formula Genesis thinning medium. What I have is the new formula of Genesis thinning medium, and it's very shiny. So I'm not going to go with that. I'm going to put this, since that blue was so grainy, I'm going to put this in with the blue and see if I added a thinning, like if you have Genesis thinning medium or you have Exodus thinning medium, will it work with these paints? That's my question. And see, this is how I do. I don't stick with one brand. If I find something I like of one brand, then I can adapt something else I already have to work with it, then I will. So there's that. Let me lay this right here, and we'll put a little more pigment in that. Anybody that's followed me for years knows that I'm constantly mixing stuff together. And I like to buy the best of all brands. And there are certain things you might like from one brand that you don't like from another. There's nothing wrong with, if you like, mix all three of these together and use them together with your Genesis. I don't mean literally mix them together in the palette, but I mean layer them together using different aspects of each one. Now, can y'all see this? I mixed the Exodus thinning medium with the BC paint. Look at that. That looks great. All right, let me lay this over to the side right here. Look at that. It made a gel-like. Now it's not gritty. That made it look like Genesis, the Genesis thinner. So now let's see if I take that and put it on a wedge. And the reason I'm doing this is if you've bought some of this stuff and you're having struggles, let's see if we can fix it by using another product from another company so that we can get the best of both worlds. Because the whole goal here in painting reborn dolls is to all work together to come up with a solution to having lost our Genesis. And if that means we have to buy something from one company and then another and mix them together to make them work, what's wrong with that? All right, so here we go. Oh, wow. Big difference. Look at that. The blue I tried to do down here just came out with just the thinner. Now, they may have their own thinning medium. I will say this, and that may be part of the problem. BC may have their own thinning medium. I did not buy any of. They probably do. I'd have to go back and look. I just got their primary colors and their matte varnish. So it could be that this paint of theirs does not work with just a citrus thinner. That it could be that you need their thinning medium. And if that's the case, then I missed the boat on that one. But I can tell you that if you've bought the Exodus thinning medium, that it works with it. Well, it appears to. I've got to heat set it, but we'll do a bigger stripe. So look at that. That looks great. So that makes me feel encouraged because now I'm like, okay, now I think I can make this work because I can use something I've already got. If I already had Genesis thinner, I could use that. So, and then I would have these heat set colors. So we'll heat set that and see how it does. So that's the bottom half. So I'm going to draw a line if I can get my marker to work, and we'll play with the only color I think I didn't use was the white, but everybody knows what white looks like. Let's draw a line across here if I can get this to work. I need a bigger Sharpie, I guess. This vinyl is that vinyl that tends to be a little more slick. Alright. That works. Okay, so we're going to say this is going to be Irresistibles over here on this side. This is BC on this side. And then we'll just know the one in the middle is where I put the Exodus thinner in with it. Alright, so let me clean my brushes right quick. I'm not going to heat set this until and my other one's out there in my New Wave. So I'm sure cut itself off. And I can go back and pull that out in a minute when I go to take this out. So let me set the BC paints aside, and I want to play with the Irresistibles paint. I probably should prime since she sent primer, but it would necessitate priming it and heat setting that piece and then painting over it. I guess I could do that though. Maybe we should do it that way. Alright, let me cut this in half so I can prime it. I'll just go ahead and do that. Alright, I'm going to set the BC piece aside over here. And then I'm going to open up let me set this Exodus stuff aside. Alright, so I'm going to open up the Irresistibles primer. And that's what the primer looks like. It kind of looks like it might need to be stirred, so it's pretty thin. But there's a little water on top, or not water, but some kind of thinner on top. So let me stir it. That is very thin primer. Assuming This is a heat set. Let me look at it, make sure. Yep, heat set, 265. Okay. So let me cut this in half. And we're going to put some primer on it. I'm just going to dip that down in the primer. I get sloppy here. So what I'm going to do is just put that primer all over it. Honestly, I've got to where I prime all my kits now. I got used to it when I was doing air dry painting. You just have better results if you prime. But nowadays, a lot of these newer vinyls that are coming out, the way they're producing them and manufacturing them, they can have very slick spots in them and spots that don't want to take paint well. So you're better off to just go ahead and prime them with something, and that alleviates any problem. I've been using that product I got from McPherson's that Shelly Marie developed called the Shelly Marie Heat Set Agent. I've been using that as my primer because she told me it makes an excellent primer, and I started priming my kits with it, and that has been done really well for me as a primer. I haven't had any problems with Genesis or old or new formula or anything else not sticking, like with the new varnishes and stuff like that, because I do have some of the new formula of the Genesis varnishes as well that I've played around with. Alright, so I've got that primed now. So what I'm going to do now is go pop this in the oven along with the BC paint one in the oven. Pull out the one that we did the test of the mediums on, and we'll look at that and talk about that a little bit. And then hopefully we can get this one that's been heat set with the primer on it up and running for the next test of the Irresistibles paint. So give me just a minute to go pop these in the oven. Excuse me. All right, I'm back. Give me a minute to get my hands cleaned off because I got paint on them a while ago. I'm going to go ahead and dry what's in these wells. So when I start pulling the, it's interesting, the thinner out of there, the pigment's definitely settled to the bottom. Where's the rest of my paper towels? Alright, I gotta go grab another paper towel. I'm out. Give me just a second. Told y'all I don't win any awards for professional videos, that's for sure. Okay. Let's see here. So I think the BC paints are very pigmented. I think they've got, you know, pigments, how do you say it right, Angie? Pigments typically are more of a powdery, granulated form, I think, and then it's mixed with different mediums to make your paints. I think that's the way it goes. So apparently this is what we're seeing settling here is the pigments. The pigment. Some kind of powdered pigment. That's my guess anyway. I'm not a chemist. That's an educated or uneducated observatory guess. How about that? That's what I'm trying to say. All right, got that cleaned out now. Let's look at this. Let's look at this thing I put in the oven. So it's funny because even the Genesis one is even shiny. All right, I put these on thicker, and so that may have affected it. So the Genesis one is right here. I didn't pounce them. Maybe I should have. I think it was going to be better that once we have some paint on these things to try the varnishes over the paint. That's the Genesis one. The Irresistible one's in the middle, right here. The BC paint one is here. And the Exodus one is at the end. All four of them, including Genesis, they look equally the same. The BC one has a little more sheen to it, but none of them look totally matte, and I think it's because of the way I put it on. So that probably is not an adequate test. So we're gonna redo that when we get the one back that had the that we put some paint on, and we do some painting. Then we'll do some varnishing over those. I guess in the meantime, while we're waiting, since I've got stuff in the oven cooking, I could try some thick medium, but it's not going to show up well. I should have prepped one of these with some air dry paint. That would have showed up. Let's see. Well, I have some by that. It's back there in the back. Alright, I'm going to put some green paint on this. You're like, what are you doing, Angie? This is air dry paint. I'm going to put some, let me get a pair of gloves because I can see right now I'm about to make a mess. I'm going to put some color on this is what I'm going to do. Something that's going to dry pretty fast. So this is just regular old golden air dry paint. Straight out of the bottle. And the reason I'm doing this is because this will be shiny, it will be green, and then I can put my varnishes back on top of it. We'll do it that way. That gives us a little something to play with now without having to wait on the others to heat set. So when I go to put this out there, I guess I need to edit out that first part of the video that was no good. Sorry. This is why this is what you get with live testing. You get the mistakes and the blunders and you get it all. Alright. Let me heat set that just a second. Just dry it. I guess I should pull the camera up here while I'm doing this and see if I've got any questions thus far, because I've been yammering on. I'll do that in just a minute. Oh, this is drying. Let me see if I've got any questions. What am I making? I'm not making anything. I'm testing products. Okay. That's pretty dry. Dry to the touch anyway. All right, let's try this again. Sorry about my previous one. Okay. So we were going to test Genesis matte varnish. Where did I set it? What's it said? It's thinning medium. I wonder if I grabbed the wrong one a while ago. Hang on a minute. Thinning medium. Raising gel. What does it do with my matte varnish? There it is. Matte varnish. Alrighty. Let's try this again. I'm just going to go in here. And let me label this so that I have it right to start with. We're going to say this is Genesis down here. Then we have Irresistibles BC. And the other one to test. Alright, so we're going to put Irresistibles right there. BC right there. And Exodus right there. Okay. There we go. So Genesis is going down here on the end. Old Formula Genesis. Alright, throw that wedge in the trash because it pulled up a little bit of that green paint. The next one is going to be Irresistibles Matte. That's going to go right through here. Okay, throw that wedge away. I'm going to leave the bottom half of this one down here just so you can see the original sheen of the green paint. Alright, the next one is BC's, and theirs is called Satin Matte. It's not totally matte. Where did I put it? There it is. This is the BC. Okay. And I'm going to put that in the one marked BC. There we go. I got enough out that time. And the last one we're going to put on is the Exodus. And I'm sorry, I apologize for the beginning when I did this and I did not do it right. I'm going to cut the bottom of that wedge off. I'm going to use the other end. So the Exodus matte, that's this one. And that's going to go right in that little corner with the X. A little bit more. Okay, now we're going to try this again. So now we have painted with air dry paints. We have Genesis matte here, original formula. We have Irresistibles here, matte. We have the BC satin matte, and then we have the Exodus from matte, and then this little bottom here is not, I'm not going to put anything in it, so we have something to compare to. Looking at it dry, the only one that's not shiny is the BC and the original Genesis, so that's interesting. So we'll see what it does in the oven now, and this should give me time to go pull out what we just put in the oven so that we can, the one we primed, so that we can start painting with the paints from Irresistibles. So I'll be right back. Okay, this is what we're going to do. I just pulled them out of the oven, but they're very hot, and I don't bring hot vinyl in the house because I don't want to breathe any fumes. So I'm kind of at a stopping point. So I'm going to turn off the video, let those cool, go wash my hands where I've got paint all over them. As soon as those are ready to go, I'm going to bring the video back on. So maybe 10 minutes, but that way you guys are not all just sitting here waiting. So give me about 10 minutes. Look for me to be back on. Thanks for following me this far. Y'all have a good one. Bye.